The end of an era. President Joe Biden's economic legacy and unexpected exit. Biden's economic agenda focused on bolstering the middle class, tackling income inequality, and investing in infrastructure and green energy. His administration oversaw a period of economic recovery from the COVID-19 pandemic, with unemployment rates falling and the stock market reaching record highs. However, Biden also faced criticism for rising inflation and supply chain disruptions. In a surprising turn of events, Biden announced his withdrawal from the 2024 presidential race, citing personal reasons. This unexpected decision sent shockwaves through the political landscape and paved the way for a showdown between Vice President Kamala Harris, the Democratic nominee, and former President Donald Trump, who's seeking a return to the White House. The 2024 election now presents a stark choice between two vastly different economic visions.
As a former prosecutor and senator, I am running on a platform of economic justice and inclusive growth. I pledge to raise the minimum wage, expand access to affordable health care, and invest in education and job training programs.
I am campaigning on a promise to restore American economic dominance through tax cuts, deregulation, and protectionist trade policies.
The outcome of this election will have significant implications for the American economy and the livelihoods of millions of citizens. Will Harris's focus on social equity and sustainable growth lead to a more equitable and prosperous future? Or will Trump's nationalist policies result in a return to the economic policies of his first term? The nation waits with bated breath. The 2024 election presents a stark choice between two fundamentally different economic philosophies.
I champion an inclusive growth model, emphasizing social equity and shared prosperity. My platform centers on raising the minimum wage, expanding access to affordable health care, and investing in education, job training, and green energy. Investing in human capital and creating a more equitable society will lead to sustainable economic growth that benefits all Americans.
I espouse a nationalist economic agenda, prioritizing American jobs and businesses above all else. I advocate for tax cuts, deregulation, and protectionist trade policies, arguing that these measures will boost domestic manufacturing, create jobs, and restore American economic dominance on the world stage. My America First approach centers on reducing trade deficits, bringing back manufacturing jobs from overseas, and renegotiating trade deals to favor American businesses.
The contrasting visions of Harris and Trump reflect a broader debate about the role of government in the economy and the best path to achieving economic prosperity. Harris believes in a more active role for government in promoting social welfare and regulating the market, while Trump favors a more hands-off approach with lower taxes and less regulation. Section 3, Trade Wars and Tariff Wars, a tale of two approaches. Trade policy represents a key point of divergence between Harris and Trump.
My signature policy during my presidency was the imposition of tariffs on goods imported from China and other countries. These tariffs were necessary to protect American jobs and industries from unfair competition.
However, the tariffs also led to higher prices for consumers and businesses, and retaliatory tariffs from other countries hurt American exporters. The trade war with China, in particular, created uncertainty in the global economy and slowed economic growth.
I have criticized Trump's tariffs as counterproductive and harmful to American businesses and consumers. I pledge to work with allies to address unfair trade practices, but also emphasize the importance of free and fair trade. I support multilateral trade agreements that include strong labor and environmental protections.
The contrasting approaches of Harris and Trump on trade reflect their differing views on globalization. Trump views globalization as a threat to American jobs and sovereignty, while Harris sees it as an opportunity for American businesses and workers to compete in the global marketplace. Section 4, Deregulation and DEI Divergent Paths to Economic Prosperity. Another area of significant contrast between Harris and Trump is their stance on regulation, particularly in the context of diversity, equity, and inclusion, or DEI.
My economic agenda focused heavily on deregulation, rolling back environmental regulations, financial regulations, and labor regulations. These regulations stifled business growth and job creation. My approach to DEI was largely focused on promoting equal opportunity rather than equity. I opposed affirmative action policies and other measures aimed at addressing systemic racism and discrimination.
Trump's administration also faced criticism for its handling of issues related to racial justice and police brutality.
In contrast, I have made DEI a central pillar of my economic agenda. I argue that a more equitable and just society is essential for economic growth and prosperity. I pledge to strengthen enforcement of anti-discrimination laws, promote pay equity, and invest in minority-owned businesses. I support policies that address systemic racism and discrimination, such as criminal justice reform, affordable housing initiatives, and expanded access to healthcare and education. I believe that these investments will create a more equitable playing field and unlock the economic potential of all Americans.
As we look ahead, it's important to consider how the economic policies of Harris and Trump might impact the future.
Predicting the impact of two different presidencies requires us to analyze their proposed policies in detail. Trump's focus on deregulation and tariffs could result in short-term gains for certain industries, but might also lead to long-term economic instability. On the other hand, Harris's emphasis on DEI and multilateral trade agreements could foster sustainable growth, but might face challenges in implementation.
Absolutely, Michael. The economic landscape is complex and ever-changing. While Trump's policies might appeal to traditional business sectors, Harris's approach aims to create a more inclusive economy. Both have their merits and potential drawbacks, and the actual impact will depend on various external factors, including global economic conditions and domestic political dynamics.
As we weigh the economic divide between Harris and Trump, it's crucial to understand the broader implications of their policies.
The economic divide between Harris and Trump is stark and represents two fundamentally different visions for America's future. Trump's policies are geared towards immediate economic gains, often favoring deregulation and protectionism. Harris, however, focuses on long-term growth through equity and inclusion, believing that a fairer society will lead to more sustainable prosperity.
Indeed, Michael. The choice between these two approaches is not just about economic metrics, but also about the kind of society we want to build. Harris's policies aim to address systemic issues and create opportunities for all, while Trump's approach is more traditional, focusing on reducing government intervention in the economy.
Ultimately, the economic policies of Harris and Trump reflect their broader philosophies and priorities. As voters and analysts, it's up to us to consider which vision aligns with our values and aspirations for the future.